Hey, all you weirdos, nerds, dorks, dolls, punks, ligubiticus, and to whatever federal agent that's been assigned to keep tabs on me. Welcome to Trash Doll Analysis, where your favorite trash doll gives her trashy analysis of film. This is episode 4 of Hey, I've seen this before, where I examine two very different films from different genres or different styles or different eras, and I try to build an argument for why they're secretly the same movie and justify how it made me exclaim, "Hey, I've seen this before." Today I want to talk about a layered film. It's really fun and definitely approachable by the mainstream and not some kind of weird art house film or high camp. Today I want to talk about a kind of layered film. It's really fun and definitely approachable by the mainstream, not some kind of weird art house film or high camp indie flick like I usually go on about. I'm not really sure how to classify its genre. It has a story beat structure as though it were a noir detective film, but it's not really in that genre. It absolutely has some very funny scenes and excellent comedic timing, and there's this really silly musical sequence in it. But I don't think of it as a straightforward comedy either. It's about a main character and his friends pulled into a nonsensical farce of a crime conspiracy. He's kind of a slacker with an Eastern European name, and his protagonist contingent make their distaste for Nazi fascists clear. It's his name that gets him pulled into the conspiracy. He's just sort of minding his own business, but now he has to deal with a variety of factions all over town, knocking him out cold and ransacking his home, interrogating him, and he's just not equipped to deal with any of this. One of these factions is headed by someone who's clearly meant to be representative of the wealthy capitalist elite in their large, opulent home. So these various factions are all trying to get a hold of a large sum of money, and the noir mystery develops into this farcical nonsense since so many of the groups involved are inept. We, the audience, see the events through the eyes of our main character. The main character has a friend who's pushing him to get even more deeply embroiled in the conspiracy, and even pushes him to try to keep the money for himself. But in the end, neither the main character nor the audience are absolutely sure what happened to the money. If you watch the film over again, or if you have a really good mind for it, the audience can pick up on all the clues and be pretty sure who did what and what happened to the money. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, since that's not the point of the film. I'd argue that in the end, the overall message of the film is a stance of, let it go. There's a few pieces that make me think that's the overall point. First, getting involved in the conspiracy nonsense results in a friend of the main character dying. But while sad, the film doesn't treat this like a harsh, rub-it-in-your-face consequences of your actions, like some kind of war film or drug bender film. The friend's death, like the rest of the film, has a dark comedic tone to it. So while it definitely carries a, well, see what happens sort of message of consequence for not just letting things go, it's more of an eye roll sort of energy to it than a harsh chastising, since the mourning goodbye scene is definitely framed to have a dark comedic tone to it. Finally, there is an interaction the protagonist has with another, and it's only about 5 seconds long, and I'll play the clip later. But that quick interaction is a message not only to the character, but to the audience, that sometimes when things are really heavy and everything is going wrong, and there feels like there's no way out of it, and there's nothing you can do to fix it, sometimes the best you've got is to say, fuck it. Let it go. And that sort of release of ego in the face of complicated conspiracy is what I think the point of the film is. So what film do you think I'm talking about? I mean, it's pretty obvious. I'm talking, of course, about the 2009 film Strigoi. So, This is where pretty much everyone is saying, I've never heard of Strigoi, so I have no idea what you're talking about and can't really judge whether I'd agree with your assessment. And to that, I'd say, I know! Everyone loves Big Lebowski, and when I saw Strigoi and its similarities, it made me exclaim, hey, I've seen this before. And frankly, the reason I'm making this episode is because I love Strigoi so much that I want to get the word out about it, and I think that folk who enjoyed Big Lebowski will likely also enjoy Strigoi. I think it's fair to say Big Lebowski is basically the bones of a crime noir detective film with elements of a dark comedy, buddy film, and stoner film thrown in. Similarly, Strigoi has the bones of a crime noir detective film, but with elements of dark comedy horror movie thrown over it. It has a touch of stoner energy too, but not as much as Lebowski. So before getting into the details of each film, a quick look at their differences. Both are Western films, Lebowski written and directed by the American filmmaking team, the Coen brothers, and taking place in California. But despite the writing, directing, and producing coming out of the UK, Strigoi is a story taking place in Romania, filmed in Romania, and the cast mostly filled out by Eastern actors. So the location is very different, and the filming location and the cast give it an authenticity that many Western productions about the East lack. I'm looking at you, Death of Stalin, Chernobyl, and Enemy at the Gate. So, while the gold standard for films about the East or Eastern culture is to just let people tell their own stories, Strigoi at least does better than most. But this is me telling you to go see films like Come and See or V or Nostalgia. But anyway, getting back on track. The big difference is the Eastern versus Western setting. Another is the fact that Strigoi is also a horror movie about monstrous vampires, or as they're called in the original Romanian folklore, Strigoi. While Lebowski can be farcical or surreal, it never strays as far as supernatural. Finally, a huge difference between the two films are the quality. While Strigoi is certainly competent in its construction and has some beautiful shots, nice tight story, good pacing, it's hard to compare it to the quality of the Coen brothers.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a Coen brothers movie.
But what was that?
Because everything's beautiful, but life fucking sucks.
The Coen brothers are responsible for multiple top-tier films and known to be prolific in American filmmaking. While Lebowski is a bit more of a cult film status when compared to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou or No Country for Old Men, it still carries their excellent shot composition and high-quality dialogue direction and all the other talents of the Coen brothers. The writer-director of Strigoi, on the other hand, well, I pulled up Faye Jackson on IMDb and didn't recognize any of her other work. And this isn't to say it isn't good. Again, I very much like this film. It's just that she isn't prolific in the way the directors of Lebowski are. Or at least not yet she isn't. I intend to watch some more of her work so I can talk about her with more direct knowledge, but it looks like most of her other projects have been shorts in horror anthologies. The acting in Strigoi, again, it's competent, but there's definitely some flat dialogue delivery that may be chalked up to actors having English as their second language, but it's really hard to compare to the all-star cast of Lebowski with Jeff Bridges, Philip Seymour Hoffman, John Goodman, and Steve Buscemi, all of them being accomplished actors with impressive resumes. So, since folk are more likely to be familiar with Big Lebowski, let's go over the story beats of Strigoi. It starts with our protagonist, Vlad, returning to his hometown after failing to break out of it. He comes from a family of doctors and completed medical school in Moscow, but he never picked a specialty or began practicing medicine.
No, I can't pronounce people dead.
Why not? It's easy. Look, he's dead. How many years of medical school did he do?
I graduated medicine, but I never qualified in a specialty. I've never practiced. Recently, I had more experience with chicken.
Instead, his insecurities get the best of him, and He ends up working in a fast food restaurant in Italy. When he returns home, he's too embarrassed to see his parents, so instead stays at his grandfather's home, next door to his aunt.
I'm going to stay with Granddad for a bit.
You should phone her. And you should talk to your father.
Not such a hard idea. I mean, if he was disappointed in me before, wait until he hears about the chicken.
Shortly after he returns, he finds that there has been a recent death, and his name appears on the death certificate.
This is what I'm trying to tell you. I didn't examine Florin. I didn't sign the death certificate. I think the priest put my name down because he thought I was in Italy.
The priest. So now it's the priest's fault.
I don't know whose fault it is, but I think they're trying to bury Florin's body without anyone taking a proper look at it. Something's going on. Some kind of conspiracy.
Considering Vlad lacks the credentials to sign a death certificate, and this occurred prior to his return to Romania, he has some reasonable questions about how his name ended up on a document listing this quite suspicious death as an accident.
Which idiot ruled the death accidental? You're lying.
I haven't said anything yet.
I can always tell when you're lying.
I simply don't recall the name of the doctor.
So it's the use of his name that is the catalyst that pulls him into a much deeper conspiracy. I'm not going to give a summary of all of the events because there's a lot of fun to be had in watching it for the first time and trying to follow all of these contingents and their motivations. But I'll give a very basic overview of each of the moving pieces and what everyone is after. The factions consist of the wealthy capitalists, Constantine Tedesco, and his wife Ileana.
This is not a legal court. I do not answer to you.
The power and influence of the Eastern Orthodox Church is led by priest Tudor.
I answer to God, not Domnul Tirescu.
The power of the state represented by the mayor Stefan.
I can't just dig out official papers in the middle of the night.
Law enforcement seen in Vlad's friend Octav, which Vlad becomes tangentially connected with through the investigation.
Hey, Vlad! I almost didn't recognize you there. You look like shit.
And the people, our working class proletariat, which includes Vlad's Aunt Mara. So, as part of a corrupt capitalist property land grab, the local drunk Florin is murdered. But the proletariat responds by murdering Constantine.
Constantine and Ilana Tirescu, we find you guilty of the murder of Florin Cojocaru, and for this crime, we sentence you to death.
And this starts the big conspiracy with various factions looking for the land deed, looking for the property maps, covering up the murder of Florin, and the follow-up murder of Constantine and Ileana. There is, however, a major problem to covering up the latter death. You see, the Tedescos have returned as Strigoi Muerta, or as Westerners would say, an undead vampire.
Domnul Tirescu, are you all right? Do you need a doctor?
I'm hungry.
You want me to call Domnul Tirescu?
I'm hungry all the time. What does that mean?
This leads to some amazingly farcical scenes where Vlad, unaware of Tedesco's murder and return as Strigoi, is trying to question him about the death of Florin and the land grab and the conspiracy, and everyone else is instead mortified to see Constantine up and walking among the living. And that is the main reason why I find this to be so similar to Lebowski, our lovable but inept protagonist stumbling through the story beats of a noir detective film, but lacking all the classy style, confidence, and charisma, and is instead a mess that cluelessly pushes through, losing the one thing they're supposed to keep track of.
But I have evidence. From the land registry.
You thief! You thief!
And all in all, failing to have much impact on the events, and instead, the predetermined story just sort of plays out on its own, with the main character being more of a messy witness to the conspiracy than an active part of it. So Vlad gets pushed into continuing his involvement by his cop friend Octav, and Jackson demonstrates that she has done research into how to properly write an authentic portrayal of a police officer. And Octav floats the idea of just stealing everything for themselves and starting a marijuana farm.
You don't want to cut me in? After everything I've done to help you?
Cut you in on what?
The land.
What are you talking about? I don't want the land.
Of course not.
I want to find out who killed him.
The Terescus. But we'll never make it stick. And it hardly matters now that the old devil is dead. You know what we should do? We should take the land and plant some marijuana. You know how hard it is to score with in Piatra? Man, it's even harder when everyone knows you are a cop.
While the crime conspiracy story with its various factions is playing out, there's a simultaneous horror movie. The community has come together to stand vigil over the corpse of Florine, the one who had Vlad's name forged on his death certificate. The ritual to prevent his return as Strigoi Muerta requires a 3-day-long wake.
I thought you only had to watch the body overnight.
3 days and 3 nights.
You kids don't know anything about the old traditions, do you? What are you going to do when we die?
The tradition also being at the core of another one of my favorite Eastern horror films, V.
Никому не давай читать по мне, но пошли тату сей же час в Киевскую семинарию и привези бурсака хаму Брута. Пусть он 3 ночи молится по грешной душе моей. Он знает.
And side tangent, Strigoi differentiates the 2 types of vampires, the living vampires that are born that way and the undead vampires.
Not all Strigoi are dead. Some people are born Strigoi, and some people become Strigoi after death.
Strigoi V and Strigoi Muerta. Presumably V meaning living, but it's also the name of the demon in that other film about the 3-day corpse watch. But Romanian is not a Slavic language, or at least I didn't think it was. So I assume the demon from the film being named V is just a weird coincidence. And I don't know, I'm a bad Slav and I never learned the languages of my ancestors. If there is someone familiar with both Russian and Romanian watching this, let me know if there's a connection here. 2 films centered around a 3-day death watch having V as the name of the main demon and Strigoi V being the category of vampire, or is this all just a phonetic coincidence? Anyway, back to the film. The lore in the film is if someone is to die a violent death and does not get the proper ritual of a 3-day death watch, there is a possibility they may come back as Strigoi. It's treated as a cultural formality, and no one in the film actually believes it to really be necessary.
Sorry, but you're not watching him in case he turns into a vampire, are you?
This isn't just about making sure that Florian's soul is at rest. We're marking the passing of his life and illuminating his journey to heaven.
It's a process.
Not just an excuse to drink.
That too.
After all, everybody knows. No such thing, Strigoi.
There is no such thing as Strigoi.
However, when Constantine Terescu was killed by the community in retaliation for his land grabs, there was no solemn watch over him. There was instead the proper Eastern European joyous redistribution of a capitalist's ill-gotten wealth after their elimination. So, to the shock of the community, Constantine and Ileana have returned from the dead to terrorize the community by continuing his attempts at the land grab and by sabotaging the funeral of Florine by eating the feast that was meant for the memorial service.
Why do you want the land? You're dead.
I spent my life running this village, and now I'm going to spend eternity under it. I can't Let these old fools destroy everything I've built.
No. Not the Sarmalutse. I had to make them again. No. There is garlic in that.
All in all, these monsters are really more annoying than terrorizing. So things escalate. Octave is murdered, only for him to return as Strigoi. Vlad's grandfather, Nikolai, gets involved. As it turns out, his land is now disputed as well, and he, too, has old grudges with Konstantin.
If you needed money, you should have said. How could you sell to Konstantin? What? Did it slip your mind?
My land, mine.
You sold it.
No. I have papers.
And some of my favorite scenes are Vlad working with his grandfather. It hits home seeing him become more and more like his grumpy grandfather as the film progresses. The older I get, the more I see, for good or for ill, more and more of my parents' personalities coming through. In some ways, we're all doomed to become our parents. But Vlad getting to know his grandfather reveals that this whole time, his grandfather had been Strigoi V.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing. You were sucking my blood.
And had been feasting on Vlad. This leads to my favorite line of the film.
Stop drinking my blood.
It's my blood. I gave it to you.
For a while, I misremembered the line as, "It's my blood, I put it there," which I think would have been even better, but it's pretty great the way it is. The film starts wrapping up with Vlad accepting the truth of the old ways. Florine is buried, and Vlad performs the ritual to permanently kill Octave. And we get the big reveal of the film. Vlad finds out that he too may be Strigoi V.
Monicule, am I a vampire?
Why? Do you have a tail?
Am I whatever it is you are? A Strigoi?
He never gets final resolution on who ended up with the land maps and deeds, and since the audience never sees the murder of Florine or gets a Perry Mason moment,
How are you? Perry Mason.
we just assume it was Triesco when it could have been the priest or the mayor pinning it on him. But in the end, none of that really matters. What I think matters is this next scene. What I find to be the most poignant scene of the film. Vlad breaks down in front of his aunt, scared of his future, what it means to potentially be a monster, to have failed in his goal to get the justice, happy ending, that his friend is now dead. And his aunt responds by giving him a kind shrug and dancing with him.
I threatened the priest. I assaulted the mayor. But I didn't find out where the devil is buried. I used to worry I was going to turn into my father. Nobody told me anything about the family history. I don't know what to do. I don't know anything about Strigoi. What should I do?
The film ends with Vlad hunting down the resting place of the Terescos and an implication that at least he'll be ending Constantine's undead capitalist reign over the town. And then the credits roll. Before getting into what meaning I take away from Strigoi, and in particular focusing on that scene with Vlad's Aunt Mara, let's cover the story beats of The Big Lebowski. So, this one doesn't really need a scene by scene for two reasons. First, come on, you've already seen this. Second, there's something to be said about getting high and only watching it every few years so you never really follow all of the scenes and events and motivations. That way you as the audience get to experience things the way the dude does, not super following who is who and what they want and who they work for, but kind of getting the motivations of each faction. Watching the film while sober, or relatively frequently, takes away some of that magic. In fact, I watched it sober for the first time in preparation for this video, and I had an awkward, oh, it's actually pretty easy to follow who's who and what they want, so a touch of that fun has now been ruined for me. But anyway, like Strigoi, we have the story beats of a noir detective mystery being experienced by a bit of a screw-up. The film has a scene I love where it turns out there is a PI living through the same story as the dude, but misinterprets the dude as being a competent force, piecing together and manipulating the events.
My name is Delfino. I'm a private snoop like you, man. What? A dick, man? And let me tell you something. I dig your work. Playing one side against the other in bed with everybody. Fabulous stuff, man.
I love the contrast in how this character is experiencing the events versus how we, the audience, know them to be playing out. It shows how a slight shift in perspective can make the most inept seem like a force to be reckoned with. So the film starts with a narrator setting our stage and introducing Jeff Lebowski, known more commonly as the Dude, while we pan over some gorgeous establishing shots of Los Angeles.
Way out west there was this fella I want to tell you about. A fella by the name of Jeff Lebowski. At least that was the handle his loving parents gave him. But he never had much use for it himself. This Lebowski, he called himself the Dude.
The Dude returns from a run to the grocery store, and we enter the catalyst, dragging the Dude into our story of crime, passion, drugs, and money. He is assaulted by two strangers demanding repayment of a debt to Jackie Treehorn.
Where's the money, Lebowski? You want that money, Lebowski? Bunny says you're good for it.
Apparently incurred by a woman named Bunny. Because of his name, he is mistaken for the Big Lebowski, and before Treehorn's goons realize they've got the wrong guy, they urinate on the Dude's rug.
Not on the rug, man.
See? See what happens, Lebowski? You see what happens?
Nobody calls me Lebowski. You got the wrong guy. I'm the Dude.
This being a major problem, since that rug really tied the room together.
It really tied the room together.
So this was a value dog.
Yeah.
What tied the room together, dude?
My rug.
This is where the Dude gets the choice. Just let it go, or allow his grievance over his rug to pull him in as a piece of a crime story of warring factions of capitalists, nihilists, thugs, pornographers, modern artists, and other nonsensical characters. Like we saw in Strigoi, we've got the influence of a friend, making sure we can never just let something go.
Jeff Lebowski, the other Jeffrey Lebowski, the millionaire.
That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting.
Plus, he has the wealth, obviously, and the resources, so that there's no fucking reason why his wife should go out and owe money all over town, and then they come and they pee on your fucking rug. Am I wrong?
And our film starts in earnest. Our dude, Jeff Lebowski, confronts the big Jeffrey Lebowski, millionaire, philanthropist, and figurehead of the little Lebowski urban achievers. After finding nothing but apathy from this Big Lebowski.
I just want to understand this, sir. Every time a rug is micturated upon in this fair city, I have to compensate the person?
Come on, man. I'm not trying to scam anybody here. I'm just,
You're just looking for a handout.
The dude lies to Lebowski's assistant, Brandt, and absconds with a new rug that will only pull him in deeper to this nonsense.
Okay. The old man told me to take any rug in the house.
Well, enjoy. And perhaps we'll see you again sometime, dude.
We get a bowling interlude scene that gives us a firmer hold on the personalities of our protagonist faction of the dude, Walter, and Donnie. Walter and his very black and white views of wrong and right and his strict enforcement of his morality.
Over the line!
Huh?
I'm sorry, Smokey. You were over the line. That's a foul.
Bullshit. Mark at 8, dude.
Excuse me. Mark at 0. Next frame.
Bullshit, Walter. Mark at 8, dude.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
Hey, Walter, come on. Hey, man, it's Smokey, so his toe slipped over a little, It's just a game, man.
This is a league game. This determines who enters the next round robin. Am I wrong?
And Donnie, with his almost oblivious, childlike nature, he's just happy to be here.
Woo! I'm slamming him tonight. You guys are dead in the water.
When the dude returns home, he is summoned back to the mansion of the Big Lebowski and offered a job as a bagman as Bunny has been abducted.
Strong men also cry. I received this fax this morning. As you can see, it is a ransom note.
We have Bunny.
Written by men who are unable to achieve on a level field of
Gather
play.
$1 million.
Howard!
Unmarked, non-consecutive 20.
Weekly.
Await instructions.
Mom.
No funny stuff.
And yet again, it is the bowling alley counsel of Walter that, of course, pushes the dude deeper into this farce.
This whole fucking thing, I did not watch my buddies die face down in the muck so that this fucking strumpet, this
Walter,
fucking
I
whore,
don't see any
could waltz
connection
around
with Vietnam, man.
Then the introduction of another faction, who leaves the dude without a rug yet again. But we don't have time to process that, as it's time for the bagman duties and the ransom delivery to save Bunny.
Here's the money. And the phone. Please, dude, follow whatever instructions they give. All right. Her life is in your hands.
Of course, Walter pushes him into bad ideas, with his plan to save Bunny and to keep all the money for themselves.
I got to thinking, why should we settle for a measly fucking 20 grand?
What the fuck, we? You said you just wanted to come along.
My point, dude, is why should we settle for 20 grand when we can keep the entire million? Am I wrong?
Yes, you're wrong. This isn't a fucking game, man.
Oh, but it is a game. You said so yourself.
The plan goes sideways, of course. The villains make off with the ringer filled with Walter's dirty laundry, and without the return of the hostage.
There goes the ringer! Okay, dude, your wheel. 15 mph, I roll out. I double back, I grab one of them and beat it out of him. The Uzi.
Lucy!
You didn't think I was rolling out of your naked, did you?
Walter,
15, dude, this is it. Let's take that hill!
The dude returns, of course, to his safe space of the bowling alley to regroup and decide how to proceed, only for things to get even worse when his car is stolen. This scene is what I love about the Coen brothers' style. The obliviousness of Donnie, the constant impending doom of the ringing phone as a constant reminder that he can't ignore the Big Lebowski finding out that he failed to save Bunny and he has now lost the money. Along with the constant unhelpful input of Walter, it perfectly balances increasing tension with increasing farcical comedy.
Say, dude, where is your car?
Who's got your undies, Walter?
Where's your car, dude?
You don't know, Walter?
It was parked in a handicapped zone. Perhaps they towed it.
You fucking know it's been stolen.
Well, certainly that's a possibility, dude.
Oh, fuck it.
Where you going, dude?
Going home, Donnie.
Phone's ringing, dude.
Thank you, Donnie.
It's reminiscent of the scene in Fargo with Jerry Lungard avoiding the inevitability of everyone finding out he disappeared a car in order to pay criminals. But I think a good scene to contrast it with is this scene from Punch Drunk Love.
Telephone, Barry, line 1. Pardon. This is Barry.
Hang up again and see the trouble it's gonna make.
Thank you.
What do you mean, thank you?
Business is good. You're busy.
Yeah, well, not really.
I saw a picture of you.
Oh, yes?
Elizabeth has a picture of you guys, your sisters and you. It's a lot of family. Must be nice.
Do you have brothers or sisters?
No, I'm the exact opposite.
That must be nice. That must be really, really, really...
No, it's terrible.
A constant ringing phone, a character seemingly oblivious to what the protagonist is experiencing, and a looming consequence of being pulled into criminal conspiracy. So what is on the surface the same feels completely different, as Punch Drunk Love gives the audience stress and anxiety. Lebowski never stops feeling like a comedy. So what's the difference? Why is something so surface-level similar interpreted by the audience so completely differently? The answer is our protagonist. In Punch Drunk Love, we, as the audience, mirror the feelings of Adam Sandler's character. In Lebowski, the Coen brothers give us a pressure valve release in how Jeff Bridges reacts to the building stress. Calm exasperation, mildly annoyed resignation, basically reacting in the dudest way.
Where you going, dude?
Going home, Donnie.
Phone's ringing, dude.
Thank you, Donnie.
Now that we, the audience, have received the cue that this is funny and not frightening, the ringing phone carries over into the next scene where a police report is being made about the stolen car, and we, the audience, find the ringing to be increasingly funny, especially in contrast to the representatives of law, order, and authority, as each ring can be taken to represent the dude being pulled deeper into a world of crime and ne'er-do-wells.
My rug was also stolen.
Your rug was in the car?
No, here.
Separate incidents.
Do you find in much these stolen cars?
Sometimes. Wouldn't hold out much hope for the tape deck, though.
Or the credence.
Well, what about the briefcase?
Mr. Lebowski, I'd like to see you. Call when you get home and I'll send a car for you. My name is Maud Lebowski. I'm the woman who took your rug.
Well, guess we can close the file on that one.
I'm not going to go through the rest of the film scene by scene, since I'm sure this has been enough to get an idea of who most of the players are, and just in case there is anyone watching who hasn't seen the film, I don't want to ruin every aspect of it. I'll just fill in a last few pieces real quick. The gang that kidnapped Bunny is a group of nihilists who may or may not also be Nazis.
Think we are kidding or taking with the funny stuff?
Because you think you haven't dreamed of Lebowski.
Yeah, he believes in nothing.
He believes in nothing, Lebowski, nothing.
The ones who came and stole the dude's new rug are an artist collective led by the Big Lebowski's daughter, who had a sentimental attachment to the rug.
My father told me he agreed to let you have the rug, but as it was a gift from me to my late mother, it was not his to give.
Jackie Treehorn's goons hear the dude might have money meant for Bunny's ransom and re-enter the story.
Pin your diapers on, Lebowski. Jackie Treehorn wants to see you.
Oh, but there is a piece we simply cannot gloss over. When the dude's stolen car is recovered without the briefcase full of money, Walter investigates the culprit who took the car, and we find out what happens when one chooses to fuck a stranger in the ass.
We know that you stole a car.
And the fucking money.
And the fucking money. And we know that this is your homework.
We're gonna cut your dick off, Larry.
You're killing your father, Larry. All right. This is pointless. Okay? It's time for plan B. You might want to watch out that front window, Larry. Son, this is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass!
What are you doing?
Here you go, Larry. You see what happens? You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens? This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass, Larry. This is what happens, Larry. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass? This is what happens. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens, Larry? Do you see what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass?
So after the coming and going of all these factions, more bowling breaks, and some more rad musical interludes, we move to the climax of the film. The faction that set the ransom in the first place hunts down the dude and his party at their safe space of the bowling alley, and they bring violence. Walter, despite being the film's main source of bad ideas, shows himself to be a competent fighter and pretty much solos the nihilists. But it comes with a cost. The stress of the conflict leaves Donnie dying of a heart attack.
Huh? It's a heart attack. Call the medics, dude. I go myself, but I'm pumping blood, might pass out. Rest easy, good buddy. You're doing fine. We got help chopper in there.
We move to the wrap-up of Donnie's memorial service, his ashes being spread from an empty coffee canister and into the dude's face.
Good night, sweet prince.
A final return to the bowling alley after Walter gives the sage advice, "Fuck it, dude, let's go bowling."
Come on, dude. Hey, fuck it, man. Let's go bowling.
And then the credits roll. Before I get into what I think we should be taking away from the films, I want to talk about the bowling alley. When I rewatched the film for this essay, I had a thought about it that I'd never reflected on before. This is his save point. This may shock some of you, but as an awkward, nerdy trans chick, I've played a lot of video games and I love RPGs. In a lot of games, there's a safe place to return to and regroup. The End of Time in Chrono Trigger, the Preheval Bop in Fear and Hunger, the Chapel in Bloodborne. It's a place for the protagonists and for the player to gather themselves after stressful battles. The bowling alley is the dude's save point. He alone, or sometimes with his party, has an adventure, suffers damage, but then returns to the emotional healing of the bowling alley. I don't know. I'm not really going anywhere with this in the context of this video essay. I just think it's neat that very different stories told through completely different mediums would use a similar narrative device. I suppose in a traditional detective story this would be the PI's office, but I think we can all agree the bowling alley suits the dude much better. So the film ends without real resolution. Bunny just shows up back home since she had never been kidnapped in the first place. But was she the one who told the kidnappers that she'd be out of town visiting friends and conspired to fake the kidnapping? Did the Big Lebowski fake the ransom and keep it for himself? Did that little shit Larry Sellers end up with the money? In some ways, the ending feels kind of like the Maltese Falcon. All these factions coming together just for everyone to be disappointed in the end. So if there's other detective films that might fit more neatly with Lebowski, why is Strigoi the one that makes me say, hey, I've seen this before? My answer to that isn't only the dark comedic tones that the films share, but also what I find to be the overall message of the film. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. Yes, 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 I know. In the greater context of that soliloquy, it's about mortality and pondering the afterlife. But I'm focused on that specific section. The question of, is it worth it? Is it a better idea to just let it go, or to stand firm against every injustice brought upon you? Do you just let it go when the priest or the mayor or someone else forged your name on a death certificate? Or do you let that yank you into a nonsense where you keep getting knocked out and your friend dies? Do you accept that mistaken identity ruined your rug? Or do you let that yank you into nonsense where you keep getting knocked out and your friend dies? That is what I think is the meaning and the purpose. It's not that unique a message to get in films. There's plenty of movies where a main character's pride leads to consequence and lessons and humility. Gangs of New York and There Will Be Blood are a couple examples that come to mind. But what puts Strigoi and Lebowski in a unique category, again, is the fact that they are built over the foundation of a noir detective film. Typically in these, our protagonist uses their charm and wit to have their moment of, I was right. Neither Vlad nor the dude gets such vindication. The play concludes with our protagonists in the middle of the stage with more confusion than catharsis. They don't get to bluff incompetence before saying, just one more thing.
Oh, just one more thing, sir.
And revealing they had all the cards the entire time. Their ineptitude is legitimate. The dude not certain if there ever was money in the first place, or if there was, where it is now. Vlad isn't certain if his grandfather was ripped off, or if he did intentionally sell his land, and if it was conspiracy, who ended up with all the evidence. All we have left is to look back over a few days of messy nonsense and loss, and main characters asking themselves, was it nobler of the mind to have suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune? In each film, we have a character who answers that question for the protagonist. For Vlad, he is at his low point. His friend is dead. He has mostly given up figuring out the final answers of the conspiracy. He has learned that monsters are real. His grandfather is Strigoi, and he might be one as well. And under this crushing weight of all of this, he's given the answer of a glass of vodka and a dance with his aunt. Just let it go. Holding on to this isn't going to bring you joy or justice or resolution. Just let it go and let yourself be filled with joy through other means. For the dude, he lost the money, or it never existed in the first place. His car is burned to a crisp. His friend is dead. Fuck it, dude. Let's go bowling. Return to your safe place. Return to your place of joy and peace. You're not Sam Spade or Eddie Valiant. You're not going to win the game. The only way for you to win is to not play. To remember the small things that bring you contentment. Go to those places. Both protagonists learning. It's more important to be happy than to be right. While writing this essay, I've been thinking a lot about Cool Hand Luke, the epitome of not letting things go film. Every choice compounding consequences, because being right was more important than being happy.
They're gonna remind you of what I've been saying. For your own good. Wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain. Don't you ever talk that way to me. Never! Never! What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it.
Was Luke right? Was Luke's version of ethics and morality and standing against injustice correct? Does it matter? Just let it go, and there's greater peace and happiness. I wouldn't go as far as saying that that's the message of Cool Hand Luke, since the film feels more like righteous martyrdom, more akin to McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, than a fuck it, you should have just gone bowling. But regardless of what Cool Hand Luke's final message was, the literal story events are ones that would have had an easier outcome if he had just let it go. Each of his choices, to act on the piss rug, to accept the courier job, to act on the stolen rug, to go after the car thief, all just pulls the dude into greater consequence, when at any of those points he could have just let it go. The same goes for Vlad. As they say in the East, it was not his monkey, and it was not his circus. Over and over he could have opted out and chosen peace. He didn't need to get involved if he had just accepted that someone had forged his name and he could just let it go. But each of them chose or allowed others to push them towards not letting things go. And the longer they kept doubling down, the worse things got, until it was all over and they had someone remind them, a glass of vodka or a White Russian is a better use of their limited time than proving they were right. Honestly, that's a lesson I wish I could have internalized years ago. Being right and proving you were right, that doesn't compare to finding and holding your peace. And that's why seeing Strigoi made me stop and say, hey, I've seen this before. Not only the similarity in having a farcical dark comedy over the core of a detective story, but also in what I find to be the point. The White Russian and the fuck it dude let's go bowling. The glass of vodka, the kind shrug, and the dance. The ending that subverts the tropes. The audience doesn't get the release of, oh, that makes sense, as J.J. Gitz puts it all together. The author doesn't get the smug, I'm so clever for the perfectly crafted setup and reveal. And the characters don't have to keep fighting because they can just let it go. So, let's go through that again. Today I want to talk about a layered film. It's really fun and definitely approachable for the mainstream. Not one of those weird art house films or high camp indie flicks like I usually go on about. I'm not really sure how to classify its genre. It has this story beat structure as though it were a noir detective film, but it's not really in that genre. It absolutely has some very funny scenes and excellent comedic timing.
Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the fucking money, shithead?
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
No, I can't pronounce people dead.
Why not? It's easy. Look, he's dead.
And there's a really silly musical sequence.
When I die and I lay me to rest, gonna go to the place that's the best. Man in me will do nearly any task. And as for compensation, there's a little he would ask.
But I don't think of it as a straightforward comedy. It's about a main character and his friends pulled into a nonsensical farce of a crime conspiracy. He's kind of a slacker, and he has an Eastern European name, and his protagonist contingent make their distaste for Nazis very clear.
Nothing changes. Fucking Nazis.
He was a drunk, contrary bastard, but he survived the Nazis.
And it's his name that gets him pulled into this conspiracy.
Okay, sir, you're a Lebowski, I'm a Lebowski. That's terrific. But I am very busy, as I imagine you are. What can I do for you, sir?
I didn't sign the death certificate. I think the priest put my name down because he thought I was in Italy.
He's just sort of minding his own business. But now he has to deal with a variety of factions all over town, knocking him out cold.
I hardly touched.
Ransacking his home.
Oh, Jesus.
You thief! You thief!
Interrogating him, and he just isn't really equipped to deal with any of this. One of these factions is headed by someone who is clearly meant to be representative of the wealthy capitalist elite in their large, opulent home.
Mr. Lebowski.
Domnul Cirescu? Domnul Cirescu, it's Vlad Kozma.
So these various factions are all trying to get a hold of a large sum of money, and the noir mystery devolves into farcical nonsense since so many of these groups involved are inept. We, the audience, see the events through the eyes of our main character. The main character has a friend who keeps pushing him to get more deeply embroiled in this conspiracy, and even pushes him to try to keep the money for himself.
I got to thinking, why should we settle for a measly fucking 20 grand?
What the fuck we? You said you just wanted to come along.
My point, dude, is why should we settle for 20 grand when we can keep the entire million? Am I wrong?
You know what we should do? We should take the land and blend some marijuana. You know how hard it is to score within Piatra? Man, it's even harder when everyone knows you are a cop.
But in the end, neither the main character nor the audience are absolutely sure what happened to the money. If you watch the film over again, or if you have a really good mind for it, the audience can pick up on all the clues and be pretty sure who did what and what happened to the money, but in the end it doesn't really matter, since it's not really the point of the film. I'd argue the overall message of the film is a stance of, let it go. There's a few pieces that make me think that this is the overall point. First, getting involved in the conspiracy nonsense results in a friend of the main character dying. But while sad, the film doesn't treat it like a harsh, rub-it-in-your-face consequence of your actions, like some kind of war film or drug-bender film. The friend's death, like the rest of the film, has a dark comedic tone to it. So while it definitely carries a, well, see what happens sort of message of consequence for not just letting things go, it's more of an eye-roll sort of energy to it than a harsh chastising, since the mourning goodbye scene is definitely framed to have a dark comedic tone to it.
Good night, sweet prince.
Finally, there's an interaction the protagonist has with another. It's only about 5 seconds long, and I'll play the clip later. But that quick interaction is a message not only to the character, but to the audience, that sometimes when things are really heavy and everything is going wrong, and there feels like there's no way out, and there's just nothing you can do to fix it, sometimes the best you've got is to say, fuck it. Let it go.
Come on, dude. Hey, fuck it, man. Let's go bowling.
And that sort of release of ego in the face of complicated conspiracy is what I think the point of the film is. So there we have it. A cult classic stoner buddy comedy neo-noir mystery made by some of modern American cinema's best actors and directors, centered around a piss-soaked rug. And an Eastern folklore horror comedy about family legacy and stolen land, close enough to each other to get me to stop and say, hey, I've seen this before. So, we're at the end of the video where I shove in some final thoughts that didn't really fit anywhere else in the script. I feel kind of silly because when I started the project, one of the things that stuck with me about each of these films was a sense of confusion. There was a recent In-Frame Out video about the Cronenberg movie Videodrome, and part of it focused on how the film was intentionally made to be confusing so that the audience would feel the same sense of confusion that the characters did. When I remembered Strigoi and Lebowski and their multiple factions with different motivations, and I was never really sure who was driven by what, I thought that this was intentional filmmaking, making me feel the confusion that the characters felt. When I rewatched both films sober for this video, I was like, oops, it's pretty straightforward. Even if our characters are confused, things are mostly clear for the audience. I guess that means that big section I was planning on writing about intentionally confusing the audience is getting cut because I was just too high to follow a relatively straightforward plot the first time I saw it. Another reason I wanted to do this video is kind of as a tribute to my childhood best friend. Big Lebowski was his favorite film, and dudist mentality was definitely a good way to describe his personality. I remember one time he screwed up at work and he was super stressed out about it for weeks, so he said, fuck it, let's go bowling, and let go of the stress of things that were no longer in his control. Lebowski and the dudist mentality never really resonated with me until I saw Strigoi and that kind shrug and the vodka from the loving aunt. Well, I don't think there's any dispute in which is a better film in terms of its writing, acting, cinematography. I hope that this video will convince some folk to check out Strigoi and at least appreciate that for a relatively unknown to-be dumpster dive of a horror film, it's worlds better than most. So I'd like to end each video with a thank you to the YouTube channels that have inspired me to make my own film channel. I was going to say thanks to Nyx Fears, but right before I started this script, she announced that she was dropping her film channel and starting a channel more focused on books. So instead, thank you to Movie Timelines. At first glance, I assumed this was going to be a slop channel, but I owe him an apology. It really has a lot of heart, and it quickly became one of my go-to comfort channels. He goes through horror films of each year chronologically and gives a little review and trivia and cracks some cute, vague reference jokes that are always a treat when I catch and understand them. It's by no means a leftist channel, but hey, the bar is so low these days that when a cishet white guy talks about minority folks as characters in film or as part of the creative teams behind them, and does so in respectful ways, it's seen and it's appreciated. So thanks, Movie Timelines, for being an awesome channel and for helping inspire me to make my own. And thank you to y'all for watching this far into the video. Please give me that YouTube holy trinity of like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you come and you join for the next one. Bye! This is the Editing Doll with final thanks and message to self debriefing. First, thank you to Isabell Ivy Struble for the title card in today's episode. This was the first time I commissioned a professional full-time artist. She's done work that was published by Image, and lately she's been working on English manga localization. And she did an amazing job on this title card. I absolutely love it. There will be a link to her ArtStation in the description. Another thanks to Josh at Movie Timeline. I saw he had started putting a no AI used message at the start of his videos, and I was like, oh my god, I should do that too. But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to reach out to him and get a copy of the literal one he used. That way he might start a movement where like multiple YouTubers start putting at the beginning of their videos the literal same title card to show like solidarity against the use of AI. He got back to me right away and gave me full permission to use it, so super thankful that he did so. Let's see. As always, thanks to K and M, my coworkers, and L, my housemate, for their consistent encouragement. Thanks to my friend M, who helped me track down a physical copy of Strigoi. Thanks to T and all my other community friends for keeping me on track to finish. Notes to self. This is my first episode with a new mic, so the sound is hopefully significantly better. But I saw in editing that the logo for the mic stand was front and center in the video, and I'm like not big on advertising for companies just because I use their products, so I've ordered some stickers to cover it up with for next time. Oh, this is also going to be the last video with the old webcam. I actually got a good camera now, and my next video should look significantly better. I saw in my last video that there was an issue with a lot of stray frames. That was because I had changed my editing technique, so now I've changed it again, and hopefully now there will be less issue with stray frames. Another issue I'm trying to resolve is how when I pull clips from films, sometimes the end of a sentence gets cut off super abrupt. I don't like doing that, but sometimes there's another character who starts a sentence like immediately after that character, and I don't want like a little segment of that sentence to be at the end of the clip, so I'm still trying to figure it out. So bear with me while I slowly improve my editing skills. Another thing I'm noticing is that when I pull clips, I play long segments because I'm like, every part of this scene, oh, this sentence is important and that sentence is important. I want to use it all. And so it sometimes feels like the clips that I pull are too long. And I've got to learn that the point I'm trying to make can be made more concisely. And I don't need to put like every part of a scene. Just because I like the scene, I can make this whole thing less rambly, not only in my writing, but also in my choice in clips I use. I've got to learn to cut. So that's a thing I'm going to be working on in the future. I think that's it. The next video is probably not going to be a, hey, I've seen this before, but my first video in another series, which is Amalgamation, where I talk about a film that I love and all the films that influenced its creation. I think I want to do my first episode on one of my favorite films of all time, Bobcat Goldthwait's God Bless America. No promises on how long it's going to take since, this is a hobby and not work. So production time is just going to be when I feel like working on it. If I ever get to a point where I'm getting 250 upvotes per video, then I'll commit to having a regular schedule. But if that doesn't happen, it just doesn't happen. And final thanks to all of y'all for watching. Bye!